Keeper of the Lost Cities, Neverseen. Chapter 31. Physic is treating Fitz right now, Dex told everyone as they rushed into the boys' treehouse. He sat on the floor, his legs curled into his chest, staring at the flickering fire pit. "Can we see him?" Sophie asked. Dex shook his head. "She said I should stay out here because it's going to get messy." "I'm his mother," Della said. "I can handle messy." "I can as well," Mr. Forkle said, following Della down the hall. "Will you be okay?" Grana asked Sophie, Bianna, and Keith. "The rest of us should get back to the Lost Cities to avoid suspicion." Sophie nodded, wishing she could leap away with them. But she was banished. She could never go home, never see her family or friends again. She wanted to curl up in a ball on the floor, or at least pace anxiously back and forth like Keith and Bianna, but Dex's eyes were rimmed with red, and tears stained his cheeks. "Hey," she said, sitting beside him. "You okay?" Dex wiped his runny nose. "My invention caused all of this." "No, it was the council," Sophie corrected. "They set the trap, and Fitz's injury really was an accident. Still, if I hadn't rushed to attack—" "You were trying to help," Sophie told him. "No one blames you for that." "I know my brother won't," Bianna promised, as she sat on Dex's other side. Dex didn't look convinced. "So what's Physic like?" Keith asked, sitting next to Sophie. "Did it seem like she knew what she was doing?" "I don't know," Dex mumbled. "Normally, I'd think someone wearing a sparkly mask, calling themselves Physic, was crazy. But it's the Black Swan, so—" Sophie sighed. "She has to be as good as Elwyn." "If she's not, we'll sneak into the Lost Cities and kidnap him," Keith promised. When she didn't smile, he nudged her with his elbow. "Aw, don't worry too much, Foster. Fitz didn't look half as bad as you during your last few brushes with death, and you're still with us. Though, maybe you two could cool it with the almost dying thing, okay?" "I agree," Mr. Forkle said, striding out of the room. "Physic has things stabilized if you would like to see Mr. Vacker." Sophie's knees shook so hard Keith had to steady her on her way to Fitz's room. "Relax," Keith told her. "You'll be back to Sofitz in no time. I bet—" His joke died on his tongue when they slipped through the doorway and caught their first glimpse of Fitz. He was shirtless and unconscious, his chest covered in a black spiderweb of veins. Della sat beside him, holding a silver compress against his forehead. "I killed Wonder Boy," Dex whispered. "Not helping things." Keith tightened his hold on Sophie's shoulders. "It looks worse than it is," Physic promised, adjusting her mask, which looked like Mardi Gras style, with a black swan painted around the eyes and purple jewels rimming the edges. The same purple jewels that had been woven into her long, thin braids and dotted along her dark skin. "I've already sealed the wound," she added, "and I have the damaged tissue repaired. Now, we just need to get the venom out of his system." She fished through a golden trunk, pulling out handfuls of tiny bottles. "This will make for a pretty awful day," she warned them, as she emptied a vial of dried leaves into her palm. "But I'm guessing that's probably true already. Now, which one of you can help me?" "Foster volunteers," Keith said, then whispered in her ear, "You'll feel better if you help." "Ah, it's the Moonlark," Physic said, as Sophie stumbled forward. "Glad we get to meet. Though, I wish it weren't stuck behind this mask. I'd tell you my real name, but then I'd face the wrath of this one." She tilted her head towards Mr. Forkle, who did not look pleased. "See those serums I took out?" she asked, pointing to the cluster of vials on the bed. "Pop the lid on the purple one and hand it to me. Then uncap the green and blue and wait until I'm ready." Sophie did as she was instructed, and Physic smashed the herbs in her other hand until the leaves formed a pulp. "Okay, on 3, I need you to pour those on his chest at the same time I pour this one. Got it?" Sophie nodded. On 1, Physic sprinkled the leaf mush all over the veiny spiderweb. On 2, she massaged the pulp into Fitz's pale skin. On 3, they both drizzled the syrupy elixirs all over the leaves until every single bit of the spiderweb was covered. "That will draw the venom out of his skin," she explained, as she wrapped Fitz's chest with rolls of silver silk. "And this," she dusted off her hands and poured a vial of thick, yellow sludge under Fitz's tongue, "will get it out of his system. And will make him vomit. A lot." Don't we need to get him a bowl or something then? Della asked. Way ahead of you. Physic pulled out what looked like a shiny silver handkerchief and shook it a few times, turning it into a bag big enough to hold a bowling ball. Keep this sealed tight when he's done. I need an uncontaminated sample. You want a bag of Fitz's barf? Keith asked, snapping out of his daze. Wow, that's even too gross for me. Physics shrugged. It's not even top 10 grossest things I've done. What's in the top 10? Keith asked. I'll tell you another time. Wait, are you leaving? Bianna asked as Physic closed her trunk. Only briefly. I need to run to the apothecary to pick up one more supply to make sure none of this leaves a scar. Are you going to slurp some burps? Dex asked. My dad will get you anything we need. I could even go with you to make sure. You're sweet to offer, Physic told him, but that would ruin my incognito thing. She adjusted the tilt of her mask and glanced at Mr. Forkle. You know it's only a matter of time before I slip and use my real name, right? But today, I'll play along. And I actually need to go to a gnomish apothecary, she told Dex. They have a much better selection of feces. Is that on the top 10? Keith asked. Not even close. And speaking of gross things, someone needs to stay here with Fitz and make sure he doesn't choke on his vomit. Fun as that sounds, Keith jumped in, I have a project to work on. And what project would that be? Mr. Forkle asked. Keith's eyes darted to Sophie before he said, I might have remembered something. He slipped out of the room before Mr. Forkle could ask more questions. Physic left too, but not before she warned them that Fitz looked ready for retching round number 1. So we'll take turns? Sophie asked, feeling less than excited. Actually, why don't you let Della go first? Mr. Forkle said. You and I need to talk. Now. The sound of Fitz's violent vomiting felt oddly appropriate as Sophie and Mr. Forkle paced in front of the common room campfire. You've been lying to me, he said. You should have told me about Kenrick's cache, and you definitely should have consulted me before you volunteered for Exilium. I didn't lie, I withheld, Sophie said, using his earlier excuse against him. It's not like you tell me anything, or involve any of us in your decisions. Mr. Forkle rubbed his temples. I gave you one of your memories back, and I swore fealty, but that doesn't make us equals, does it? All you guys do is boss us around, and all you kids do is push, because we have to. Mr. Forkle's sigh ran so long, Sophie was sure he'd pass out from lack of breath. What would earn more trust? He eventually asked. A name would be nice. Physic is willing to give us hers, and she just met us. Have you considered that it's easier for her because she's just met you? Mr. Forkle asked. She's never had to lie straight to your face. And continuing to lie makes it better, Sophie countered. The most endless silence in the history of endless silences followed. Fine, he whispered. Have it your way. You want my name? It took Sophie several seconds to remember to nod. Very well, then. Mr. Forkle paced the room twice more. When he finally spoke, his voice had turned soft and whispery, a ghost in the shadows. You also know me as Sir Aston.